So, he's back. So I thought I would, you know, cut out some of the I'm going through the dungeon, you know, just in case. You guys might not want to see that every time. And I'm just kind of going through this first portion where it says slay all the enemies. I'm like, okay, that sounds boring. I don't think people are going to want to watch that. And then all of a sudden the Butcher is here again. For the second straight dungeon, the Butcher is here. I don't know how often that happens for others, but I just thought I'd share that. Once I saw it was here, I was like, oh, hi, Butcher. You know, I started to wonder also, like,
I'm not ready yet.
Obviously the Butcher is supposed to bring this feeling of dread and terror, like people go, oh gosh, it's the Butcher! And every time I've seen the Butcher in this game, I've just been like, oh, hi, Butcher. How you doing? And I'm sure someone's probably going to think, oh, well, you're just not experiencing Diablo the way it's meant to be played. And forgive me if I also get a little testy about that little phrase. I'm getting a little tired of hearing people get upset at other people because they're not experiencing the game that the way it was intended or the way it was meant to be played. How someone chooses to experience the game is up to them. It's not up to other people. I'm not going to go after somebody and tell them how they're supposed to experience playing a game. How they choose to experience it is entirely up to them, not me. So when I hear, and I've only been hearing this recently, sometimes other people I'll hear say they'll get mad at other people because they're experiencing the game in a way that's not how the developers intended. To which I say, do you not know what modding a game is? Now, I know some games don't allow that, but the entire idea and concept is that, and I guess this goes to a different perspective on how you feel about when a game becomes released to the public. I mean, what the developers intend in terms of, like, this is what we wanted to do with our game is one thing, and that's fine. But at the same time, once you release it to the public, how they choose to experience it and play it is up to them. You know, because at that point, you've released it to them. If they cared a lot about how someone experiences it, they would put a lot more restrictions on it, which would not be a good thing. Because a lot of people either would, A, find a way around it, or B, voice their displeasure about it to the point where they would probably even consider letting people, you know about it and say, hey, don't bother getting this game or supporting it because the developers are extremely anti-consumer. They're anti-player. The more friendly you are to consumers and players, the more your reputation amongst them is going to grow and get better. Just look at some companies over time that have continued that kind of idea, and they still have, like, players that love their games because that company has never gotten into being, like, anti-consumer player, especially when it comes to either policies or games or, you know, just other things like that. And there are other companies that have done that. And unfortunately, Blizzard at times has been that way. Just look at Diablo Immortal. Thankfully, this game is not quite like that, but I did talk about the shop, because it is still here. Just because I'm playing the game doesn't mean it's all of a sudden gone or gone away. It's still here. I'm just not bothering with it. And fortunately, it's not in my face as I'm playing this game saying, hey, you should buy some of this from the shop. The only time I think I would actually be noticing it a little too much would be as if I was playing the season and I was actually trying to fill out the season pass. Or, I'm sorry, the battle pass is what it's actually called. Season pass is what we used to call the, hey, we're going to have a bunch of DLC, but if you get the season pass, you'll get a discount and you'll eventually get it when it comes out. But you can pay for it now. I was never really a fan of that method.
I must wait a moment.
Because a lot of the times they would overprice it, wanting you to pay more now, instead of getting your actual, like, money's worth for what you're actually, like, paying for now, because you're paying a lot for it now for content later on that you may or may not get your money's worth. I've said this for a long time. The only time I was ever actually satisfied with paying for a season pass for DLC that was advertising for content later on was for The Witcher 3. Because they went about it in a much nicer way, where it was about, we are not only going to provide a lot of free DLC that you won't have to pay for, they'll just be automatically added, but also we're going to add 2 huge expansions as part of this, which will give you more hours of content played than what you're paying. And I liked that.
I can see that. Oh, how pitiful I look. Just give me my eyes back, won't you?
Yep, there you go.
Can I just push them right back in their sockets? Just like... that pain! The shock is burned! Oh, God! Oh, God! My eyes!
Yeah. That's an example that sometimes what you do in this game is not always the best possible outcome. By the way, you'll notice I put these in. Apparently, willpower is like one of the main go-to, I guess, stats for druids. I might be wrong on that. Strength does affect armor, but willpower is what affects skill damage. Now, a lot of these are still the same regardless of what class you're playing, but I guess what affects your skill damage is your primary stat. I could be wrong on that, but that's what seems to me based on what I've been experiencing with both the Druid as well as the Barbarian. Now, strength is more important for Barbarian than willpower, but, by the way, there's the beast in the ice. Again, haven't encountered him yet because I don't have the resources to summon him yet. Hope to at some point, though. But I also have to continue my little grind on the Nightmare dungeons, which is like, okay, I have to do a 46 to actually progress. That's like my next main one. I've been able to do a 32, I believe,
something strange going on here.
On my Barbarian, and she's only level 80, so... The three-faced statue, behold the truths that lie within. That's creepy. But then again, saying something is creepy in a Diablo game is kind of a, yeah, and of course, and? It's like, of course it's creepy, it's a Diablo game. What isn't creepy in this place? Okay. Nero! Come out wherever you are! This seems a little off. Why would she go here? Where could she be?
I'm not ready yet.
Not gonna try and kill everything in here, because bottom line is we're trying to find Nerel. may as well loot some stuff while I'm here. Oof. You know, I was watching some videos about some recommended, like, builds for werebears, especially when you get to, like... I guess when you get closer to Tier 3, as well as endgame Tier 4. And I think one of the things that was talked about was taking advantage of overpower damage.
I must wait a moment.
Agreed shrine and no enemies to hit. Ah, sad.
I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
By the way, I haven't talked about something since we saw it. So back when we started this, you recall that cutscene? I actually forgot to talk about something. One of the things I do like about this game is that it tries to showcase our characters that we've made in the cutscenes. Both their faces as well as like whatever they're wearing at the time. Some cutscenes will take off the helmets that we give them and some will not. But it's still cool to be able to, like, see cutscenes that adapt to however our character looks. That we're not just having it restricted to, you know, like a pre-rendered scene where it changes the appearance of our character, even though that's not how our character actually looks. You ever get annoyed by that? I do sometimes. It depends on the game, of course. So I like it when they make it where the cutscenes will adapt to however your character looks. Allowing you the opportunity to see your character that you've made in action. So that is something I do like about this. Now going back to that first scene we saw when we first started, there were a couple things to talk about that I didn't. One was... It's interesting how basically the implication is that whoever our character that we've chosen is just someone who just kind of, I guess, randomly wandered into this area and now they are the main character of the story. I mean... Maybe it's just because I was, again, I feel like I got spoiled by Diablo 3. Which is that Diablo 3 at least provided some interesting, like, little backstories. Like, you remember when you made a new character in Diablo 3 and then you got that cutscene that gave you a bit of backstory about your character? Like how Li Ming, the wizard, went to the monastery to pursue knowledge and she found the books that, you know, showed her the prophecies. Or how Vala lost her entire family to demons and she was, like, at the basically the end, at her wit's end, until these demon hunters found her and helped turn her into a weapon that could be used against the demons. I liked those cutscenes. I thought it added some cool little backstory to your character. Whereas here, it's just kind of like, we just kind of showed up and in the middle of a storm and it's like, okay, we're just here now. Except for one thing. Obviously, like, we lose our horse because, you know, of course, they have to show off the gore of a horse getting... You ever think about the amount of horses in this game that we find just absolutely, like, butchered? It's just real sad, you know? Anyways, after that, we find ourselves in a cave. And then we noticed that there was some kind of strange-looking wolf that showed up. And we seem to then be like, okay, we're okay now. We're going to get her out of here. Well...
You're stuck in an illusion created by the Horadrim. The portal will lead you through this crude trap.
This is why I brought that up. Because now, we've actually met this wolf once again. And this time, he's talking to us. Now,
Relax. No harm will come to you here.
does this look and sound familiar to you? You hear that music? You recognize this cage that well? I will admit, hearing that music does get me a little nostalgic. Now, it's not the entirety of our beloved Tristram. In fact, some of it is just outright horrible, like these things here, which are moving, which is even more horrifying. But it is nice that after all these years, we get to have a glimpse of a place of familiarity like Tristram. And of course it has the cage here reminding us, because again, Diablo 2, more so than Diablo 3, we have to have a callback to when we saved good old, our beloved Deckard Cain in this cage back in Diablo 2. So, Mr. Bloodied Wolf, who are you, and why would you show me this place?
An admirer of sorts. I saved you in the mountains. You'd lost your horse and crawled into that cave. Would have frozen to death if not for me.
Why are you helping me?
Oh, it's very simple. You want to stop Lilith, and I want you to succeed. But you'll never do that by following the Horadrim. Their path always ends in fire and death.
I wouldn't say always, but it also depended on which Horadrim we were following.
Open the door.
It depended on which era, because obviously that was not really the case with Deckard Cain. But some of the other Horadrim in the past, yes, like the ones who were quick to blame Zoltan Kulle for what he did because they want to maintain the status quo, as opposed to letting him actually pull off his plan to basically try and put an end to the eternal conflict. So it kind of depended. Also, what he's really getting at is Lorath, and considering where Lorath is at this point, up here in his head, this wolf may have a point. Things have not been the same for the Horadrim. Even though Tyrael reformed them in Reaper of Souls, the fact that we found Lorath as a hermit probably gives you an idea to the condition of the Horadrim at this point in time. It's very likely, if not say it outright, that Lorath may be the very last Horadrim alive. And again, my suspicion is that Tyrael has possibly died at this point, so if Lorath dies, who is left to perhaps restart or continue the Horadrim? So, gross. A lot of gross in this game. More so than in than how I would have liked, or in 3. But then again, 3 also had a lot of gross stuff as well. So why are you telling me all this?
To warn you. A day will come when the Horadrim stumble. Don't be there when they do. The portal will lead you to that little girl you're looking for.
By the way, do you recognize the voice of this wolf? I hope you do, because it's actually quite a well-known actor. We've heard him in a lot of things. You probably know him from a variety of different things. Let's continue talking to him. Ask him one of these questions, and then I'll let you know who it is. But I'll give you a moment to try and figure out who it is. So what is this place?
Tristram, the Horadrim of old imprisoned Diablo, the Lord of Terror beneath the earth. And then they built this town nearby. You can see how that turned out.
So, did you guess it? That, I mentioned Zoltan Kuhl. Well, this wolf is voiced by the same actor. That, my friends, is Steve Blum. Or Blum, if you prefer. But yes, that is in fact Steve Blum, the same man who has voiced Grunt, Oghren, and Abathur. Why do you want to stop Lilith?
I like the world the way it was, without Lilith. Her little game of rebellion will only lead to chaos. You've already seen visions of the damage she can do. Yes, I know you have fed her blood. Do you feel it changing you? Perhaps not yet, but as long as Lilith walks in your world, it is only a matter of time.
So obviously this is not just a wolf. A wolf does not talk to us like this. He also doesn't open fiery portals to Tristram, or rather a vision of Tristram, and have all of this knowledge about all this. So there's obviously more to this wolf than he's letting us know. But maybe we'll find out more about that later. Also, look at the background. Yep. Well, that's not horrifying over there. Jeez Louise. This goes back to what I was saying about how I wish the developers at times showed a little bit of restraint.
It's illusion.
So now we're back where we were.
Mirel, there you are.
She sees a giant werebear running up and she's like, oh, there you are. As opposed to someone else who would be like, ah!
I think I've lost my way. The same thing happened to my mother and me earlier on. The trail to the vault ends here, so it should be somewhere around in these woods.
Alright, follow me.
Is someone toying with us? This place is a maze. This... what's that supposed to be?
Oh, hey, we're back.
I see. The path is different now. The statue was the source of an illusion. We must be close. Finally, the Horadric Vault.
So is this the place?
Not what I expected. But let's not give up hope. All we need is one book, one spell, to help us cross the Black Lake and stop Lilith.
By the way,
Sealed shut. What of the passage over there?
I'll take a look. By the way, I went and found Denarius and got his blessing. So why were you and your mother looking for this place?
You assume we're treasure hunters, don't you?
I'm not assuming anything. I just want some answers.
Look, ever since I can remember, my mother took me around looking for Horadric artifacts. It was an obsession. And when she learned of this vault and wanted to find it, I couldn't say no.
Why not?
She was sick. Tried to hide it from me, but I knew she didn't have long left. This sort of thing, the hunt, it made her happy. It made me happy too. You have the answers you wanted now?
No need to get snippy with me, Neyrel. Man, that shockwave is so good. Especially when they're all in a line like that. Ooh, Horadric book. Lesser verses and incantations.
This is... I think it's written in Horadric code. And here, the same symbol on the door. I have an idea.
Let me turn the game up a
Might want
bit
to
so you
take
can
a
hear them
step
better.
back. Chespith Chut. Let's keep on. I wish Mother was here. Hey! Wait for me!
Donan brought a book on his visit. The writing is ancient, a scroll from the Viserai. Lorath will not be pleased, but if I'm to fight by his side one day, I need to study everything. Lorath is wise, but he's cautious. I'll prove myself to him yet. Many of the notes here deal in mathematics and astronomy. Each page is lined with commentary on star charts and prophecies. Nothing else. Can you open this door?
It's the same seal as before. Should be easy enough to break it again. But why would someone use it here?
One way to find out.
Of course, we can't let anything stop our pursuit of Lilith. I'll open the door, and if we split up, we'll work faster that way.
Only if you stay on this side of the door.
Fine.
What am I looking for?
Don't you know? A book, a scroll, or anything that will help us cross the Black Lake. Chespith Chut!
Alright, I'll be back. You can definitely tell that this was like... I'd like to just imagine Cain kind of going through here. And like going up these like ladders to those bookcases and be like, oh, where is that book I was thinking about that has that old text? I know it's here somewhere.
I must wait a moment.
I miss Decker Kane. You know what's another thing I really liked about Diablo 3 that is not in this game? You know how every time you took down an enemy, you got a thing saying new lore, and then you would have this like little bit of audio talking about the lore of the enemy you just fought? Wasn't that great? I loved that. It was a nice way to be able to get extra lore on things if you're curious about, like, man, what's the story behind this enemy I just fought? And then you got to have some, you know? I thought that was really cool. And they decided not to do that. But then again, it feels like there was, without question, different intents by the development team. Like, they want to focus on certain things and just leave other things behind, or just either maybe they didn't have enough budget, maybe they didn't have enough time. I don't know. I mean, I also remember when I wasn't at the BlizzCon where they announced this game, but I was at the BlizzCon when they announced Diablo Immortal. And at the time, I know many of us were hopeful that was when they were going to announce Diablo 4, and it was Diablo Immortal instead. And I remember just being in the crowd when it was clear to us what it was. Especially when they said the words mobile game. And I just remember that myself and everyone else in the crowd, just the air got sucked out of the place. And it was like we had just been like deflated of all our excitement and enthusiasm. I'm pretty sure, I haven't checked in recent times, but I'm pretty sure that the announcement trailer for Diablo Immortal that they showed at BlizzCon is still now the most disliked video that Blizzard has ever had. It used to be the Pandaria announcement trailer, which I just laugh at, considering how good of an expansion that was, and how well Pandaria Remix is getting right now. A lot of people are loving it, and I'm just laughing going, this is the same expansion that people just mocked and made fun of at the time, because they thought it was silly and stupid, and they thought there was other reasons behind it, and of course the Kung Fu Panda stuff, and now Remix is getting extremely well received. But at that time, it was the most disliked Blizzard video, until Diablo Immortal, and I'm sure it still is. But at the time, I think many of us were wondering, like, whether or not this meant Diablo 4 was ever going to happen. And if so, what did that mean for perhaps its backing, or its funding, or its support? And I just find myself thinking and wondering... Hold on.
Take my master's foot!
The Herald of Lilith to court, or Tort, or however you want to say that name, I don't know.
Not ready yet.
Yeesh.
I must wait a moment.
Almost about to be stunned. There we go. Death Harnessed Theories of Rathma.
I was a demon guarding that book. I should take this back to Nerel.
So, I have found myself wondering, were they just not able to have like the full kind of budget and resources and such, like say 3 did, where they could be able to do things such as, let's add more lore little bits here and there to the game, like they did in 3, but not in this one. Or maybe that just was something they didn't care about, or it wasn't a priority, I don't know.
More luck than me.
Well, I do have this.
Interesting. This ledger was written by the Haradrim. This is chronicling spells and theories created by Rathma, the first necromancer.
That's not what we are looking for.
No. But But it can still work. There must be a spell in this book we can use to bring my mother back. She knows the ritual to cross the Black Lake.
Are you sure this is a good idea?
It's all we have. My mother will help us through. Meet me down there.
Rathma? Well, that can't be a coincidence.
You mean that we found Rathma's book here, and Lilith's going after him? My mother told me once, there are no coincidences where immortals are involved.
The passage was infested with demons.
I thought I heard something, but demons? How is that possible? It couldn't have been the Haradrim. They're secretive, but would never follow such a path.
Alright, I'll meet you there. By the way, the Necromancer, again, doesn't say anything about this, despite being a Necromancer. Like, we're talking about doing necromancy to her mother, and if you play as a Necromancer, your character doesn't say a thing. It's the exact same thing, no matter which class you're playing. It's something else that, it's little things. You know, like, you notice how whenever we pick a dialogue, like, we are saying the first word and they just kind of continue from what we were saying? In D3, if you talk to somebody...
Darkness encroaches on the light. Dull swords must be sharpened and armor polished.
Mm-hmm. Your character would usually be the one to start the conversation. Like, if you check out my playthroughs of Diablo 3, the character you're playing would usually start the conversation. They would usually say something because those voice actors were given things to do and say. Whereas here, whenever you pick something, they're the ones who are doing most of the talking, while your character is barely doing that much talking. It's just, it's a little thing, but it's a noticeable thing. At least if you're someone like me who has played these games often enough to start noticing these little things. And again, I have no hard information about these things, but it's just my impression that I'm getting as I'm playing through these. These are just my speculations on these things, really. Just to clarify on that. So what's the plan, Narelle?
I'll explain on the way.
Okay. By the way, the game never tells you this, unless you come back here after you beat the campaign, but one of the special endgame bosses is in this area. The problem is, out here in the main map, all you see is this. There's nothing indicating that they are there. But if you go to this map, once you get to the endgame, they'll be located right over here. A lair for that special endgame boss. But you have to come down here in order to find that out. I had to find that out the hard way. Because when I was checking the bosses to actually like do stuff with in the endgame, and I was like, where is this other boss that I'm supposed to find? Because I don't see him on the map. And then it was like, oh, he's down in the whatever this place is called. He's down in the darkened way. And I was like, wait, he's down there? Really? And then sure enough, there was the lair. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's nothing in the game itself telling you this. Nothing. Like, you go down here and then it's going to be right there. Right down over there. But the fact that there's nothing in the game, unless you actually make your way down here, like, I guess if you're one of those likes to explore.
The ritual was difficult to understand, and the notes weren't much better. I think I know how to talk with my mother again.
Again, our necromancer doesn't say anything about this.
The breeze, coming from the Black Lake. Do you feel it? Let's hurry. Please, can you hear me?
My little magpie, it's you.
I can save you from this, Mother. I promise. I can learn how to...
Neyrelle, stop. I can't be saved from my own mistakes. This body is only a husk. My spirit must pass on. And you must let me go.
Mother, no. I need you.
You need to move on, Magpie, without me. But I can help you one last time before I go. You have the divine blessing. Your blood is the necessary key.
So now we'll do what we do in every game. Cut our hand! And then our hand is fine.
Neyrelle, you were so loved.
Neyrelle.
The way is open. We have to go. But... do you think Lilith is even still here? It's been so long. I'm afraid she's won this one. Besides, I have to... take care of my mother. But it's not over yet. Not for you. Lilith was after Rathma. Find him. Learn why. I'll be back at the vault. All right?
I joke, but how often in games do you see where they're like, oh, you must use your blood? And what does the character do? They pull out a knife, and they cut their hand open, so the blood can be used, and then their hand is totally fine. You ever notice how often that happens? Especially like in the Dragon Age games. I'm just pointing it out because it's just a funny observation I've noticed.
I feel a cold wind flowing through my bones.
So this is where, if you're playing as a necromancer, she has one unique line of dialogue. She'll say, huh. For some reason, this place feels like home. That's it. That's all the necromancer says. We got more unique dialogue like that out of the necromancer in D3. And of course, the necromancer was also voiced by Zool in... or by Zool. Zool was voiced by Michael McConaughey in D2, so of course. By the way, gross. This place is so disgusting. And all those, like, tendrils and such. Ugh, blech.
You are the last visitor to my sanctum. Though, you come too late, just as Lilith did before you. For it was my father, Inarius, who arrived here first. It unfolded as my visions foretold. How we hurtled towards the prophecy's end.
So yeah, we're going to get little visions from Rathma. And he also let us know that, yeah, hey, Lilith has already been here, but also, so has Inarius. He was here first. He failed to mention that when we went to have our little audience with him, didn't he? Also, as we progress through this towards our destination, feel free to listen to the background for any unusual noises.
wait a moment.
It started in dreams. I saw shattered images of the end of Sanctuary. The scales of a great serpent carried these visions. And so I went to visit him. My and the serpent's thoughts met, and the fragmented future was mended together. I put it down in order, and the prophecy was born.
I like that Rathma is giving us a little bit of insight into basically how he kind of orchestrated this little prophecy that everyone's making a big deal about.
Destroy the tumors to go any further.
So yeah, this is gross. Tumor of hatred. That's definitely not a tumor. What? Look, Kindergarten Cop is one of my favorite movies. If you were to ask me, like, what's, like some of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies of all time, Kindergarten Cop is right up there in the top 5. Because we get to hear Arnold say some very unusual things. Such as, that's definitely not a tumor. Or, my personal favorite, there is no bathroom! Or, I'm the party pooper. Like how just one pulverize just one-shots that thing.
Prophecy became my burden. There were others that knew. Ones that couldn't understand the nature of such a thing. I knew Inarius would be driven to interfere, believing that it was about him. He saw himself as a savior, piercing hatred's heart in hell.
So remember when I said remember that prophecy for later? This is one of the reasons why. Also, just as a reminder, that Rathma is the actual son of both Inarius and Lilith. Like all the other Nephilim in Sanctuary are their quote-unquote children because they created Sanctuary, but they didn't conceive all of them. Rathma is one of those they actually did conceive. And I want you to remember that for as we continue through here, learning more about what is going on with Rathma as well as Inarius. I have to go back this way to get to that tumor.
Wait a moment.
Definitely want to get more of those temperament recipes. I like getting these ones that are unique to your class.
So I locked the gates to hell. It was only a matter of time before Inarius would discover what I'd done. and come demanding the key.
And I think we're about to see that. About what happened when Arius did get down here and confront his son about this.
I'm not ready yet.
You refuse to give me the key. You stand in the way of the Savior. The holy blood in your veins should be boiling.
Nothing you do will change the future I saw.
I create my own destiny. And this prophecy of yours is just a small part of it. It is wider, beyond comprehension of ungrateful spawns like yourself. All you must understand is once I am victorious in hell, the high heavens will welcome me home, where I belong.
I wish it would be true, Father.
Even Rathma knew. Even he knew that there was no way the heavens would welcome him back.
Curse this place. I'm being followed.
You hear that, right? Balance is sanctum. Again, I would have liked it if our necromancer had something, anything to say about being here. Nope. Just that one line the moment we get to, like, this area, and that's it. Rather loud footsteps for following somebody.
Outsider! Beyond this chamber, there's nothing but death and mourning. How fitting it shall be your grave.
We'll see about that.
Just wait a minute.
Hello?
Stick close! Stick close!
Hello, my mysterious follower? Well, thank you for your help, but you have a lot of blood coming out of that suit of armor.
did this?
I have done all that was asked. The pain is gone now. This was a just punishment. A stronger man would have refused Venard's bribe. Nerel. Nerel, is she safe?
Yes, she's safe.
Our meeting is no coincidence. I came here to help. Will you give this to her for me? I should never have taken it. It's so dark. I have repented. Do you think I was too late?
No, not too late. The light has come to carry you home. Do you not see it, friend?
Yes. Yes. I see it now. They have come.
You didn't need that armor to prove your worth, friend.
I may talk a bit here, because there's a few things to talk about here. Because that scene says a lot. Look at this armor. Do you see all those spikes in there? This is what they had him do. This is what Prava decided to have Vigo do to repent for what he did. This is disgusting. If this doesn't give you an idea of how horrible this organization is that follows Inarius is, I don't know what will. Forgive me, I don't agree with this kind of method for this kind of what they were going for here. I find this repulsive. It's also, I guess, contributes to that idea of, I guess, trying to build up Vigo's character, only for it to happen like this. Also, I wanted to point out something that I was noticing as I was watching that scene. Their lips don't move. If you really look up close during that cutscene, Vigo's lips are not moving when he's talking. Yeah, this is one of those things that makes me think that they didn't have quite the budget that they would have liked when it comes to some of the story and cutscenes and such. If they can't even bother to animate the mouths when they're talking in the scene. But I will say this. A scene like that is one of the few times in this game where the voice actor for our character actually has the opportunity to, you know, be a character. It actually gives our actor here playing our character the opportunity to actually like add some emotion and character to who they're playing. You know? I felt that from our actor there. Nothing new. And of course you get this, which is something every player gets when they do this boss fight. Which is one of the really cool legendaries in this game, that when you're not healthy, that bubble that he put up is summoned, and for that, you know, it's up for that specific amount of time, and when you're standing in it, you're immune. It's a really cool legendary. Rest in peace, Vigo. You didn't have to do this to prove how, you know, your worth. Like our character said.
Give me the key to hell. I will not ask again.
You don't need to. I saw a vision of the key lifted from my corpse, under the watchful eyes of the great serpent in my sanctum. If you are chosen as you say, it will come to pass.
It's too quiet. Where is she?
I can't help but wonder who all these different people here are. Maybe other Nephilim from that time period. Maybe followers of Rathma. There's a lot of story here, and I feel like I'm not getting, as much of it as I would like.
Is that him? Is that Rathma?
Yep. That's Rathma. There's the serpent he was talking about. Well, we know Lilith's been here because of the blood petal, so let's see what happened when she came here.
I don't know if you would have chosen to stand beside me in this new world, Rathma. But I would have saved your place, just the same. And now, all that you might have been has been stolen from me. Stolen. This key unlocks more than the doors of hell. It unlocks our path to the future. A future made possible because of the price you paid. Your sacrifice will not have been in vain.
Yep. So yeah, Inarius killed Rathma. But he didn't know where the key was. So Lilith got the key. It also says something about how... Did you hear the hurt in her voice? I mean... Yeah, she's a demon and, the daughter of Mephisto. But as I was pointing out, that is her, her actual son. She did, have a son with Inarius. So that sounded like a mother who was hurt at finding the body of her son. You know, that she really did care about him. And we will hear this again later. Not gonna say when or how, but it does come up later. It also says something about Inarius, that he cared more about, of course, the prophecy and getting what he wants instead of his own son. But then again, as we're also, in case you didn't pick up on it when we met him earlier, Inarius is quite done with this place and everyone in it. He doesn't care about his followers. They are just a tool and a means to an end. All he cares about is getting back to the heavens where he belongs. Everything else here, he doesn't care about. It can die as far as he's concerned. He'll even go as far as to murder his own son to do it. So, let's go let Neyrelle know what happened to conclude Act 1. Vigo wanted me to give this to you.
Vigo wanted you to have this.
He was a good man. And Lilith? Was she even there? Did you meet her?
Already gone by the time I arrived.
There is more. I can see that.
Lilith took a key to hell off Rathma's body.
Then it was all in vain. She's the only one who got what they wanted.
Neyrelle. She came seeking the Haradrim of legend. Seeking hope. She found neither. But her part in things was far from over. In truth, we would need her more than she needed us. Didn't seem that way at the time, though. For anyone. Inarius proved to be just as unreliable as I'd feared. His self-obsession had driven him to murder his son, Rathma. And from the corpse left behind, Lilith had taken a key to hell. Where would she use it? We could only depend on ourselves to find out.
And that concludes Act 1. Basically, the main story for the Fractured Peaks comes to an end here. There's, of course, still stuff to do in terms of side quests and, of course, strongholds and such, which I'll probably go ahead and grab this stronghold off camera. But now the story is going to take us up to Skosglen. Now, we've actually technically already been up here because we went over to Turdolra to be able to get our spirit boons for the druids, which is, of course, is a druid-heavy place, and there's some side quests in there we can do as well. After all, we still have to help out our bear friend over here. But when we continue the story, we will be heading over to find another former Haradrim by the name of Donan. So stay tuned for that.